Hello, and welcome to the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. I'm Amanda Butland, your host and intuitive life coach. All right, welcome to another episode of the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. Today, my special guest is Kimberly Joe. Kimberly, thank you so much for being with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amanda, for having me.
Awesome. Well, I always like to start with a little icebreaker question. Can you share with us what activity or hobby brings you the most joy and why?
Right now, my joy comes from my horse. I have ridden for years, probably my whole life, but I just actually moved to the East Coast, so I brought my horse with me. And that is really my joy. It's my form of meditation. It's a great relationship. I used to show and breed and do all that stuff, but I don't really do that right now. I just have him, and he's awesome.
Oh, I love that so much. All right, so we're here to talk about coaching. I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, sort of, because I know you're a coach, sort of, what your coaching journey was. How did you come up? How did you end up as a coach today?
Well, it's so funny because all these years since I was a little girl, I have really been involved in sports and it just all kinds of sports, competitive sports. So karate, and I was a dancer for years. And every sport that I did, I actually ended up teaching the sport. And then I found how valuable it was for me to help others and make them feel really great at whatever they tried to do. And it was really kind of something I felt that was kind of my calling in this lifetime. And the more I got involved with teaching people, the more I realized that people had unfulfilled desires and blockages to take them to their goals. And it was really one of my thing. I think it's gives me the biggest pleasure in the whole world to see someone reach their fullest potential, or at least get close to it.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of us coaches, right? We're here to, watch our clients just transform their lives and become, like you said, their highest potential. So I love that. Can you maybe share a little bit about sort of the type of coaching that you do? I'm sure everybody would be interested to learn a little bit more about what that is.
Well, years ago, I started, as I said, I was teaching, and I was teaching in every kind of sport that I did. And I got involved with, you know, uh, videos, making videos and doing these things. So I got involved with the Body by Jake studio, became like kind of one of the first trainers that telling my age now. But I think from there, I realized that people wanted much more than just being in shape. Everybody wants to be in shape. And so I started taking it, I guess, one step further. And I really started investigating why people, they say they want something, but there's always something that blocks them psychologically from getting it. Always. And so I said, you know what? If I can break down those barriers, or at least have them realize what they are, they will get closer to their goal. And that was really how it all started.
I love that sort of, behind the scenes, right? Like really getting into the mind as to what it is that those blockages are. Because, people oftentimes like they're working at something, whether it's fitness or anything else in life, and they come up against blockages and they don't necessarily realize or understand what it is that's preventing them. So I love that you do that sort of that deeper work to help them figure out what those things are in order to help them achieve the goals that they set for themselves. Um, so I would love to hear maybe sort of how, maybe some examples of how you're able to do that to help your clients really transform their lives, to, uncovering those blockages and transforming and helping them achieve those goals.
Well, of course, a lot of it is spiritual work and all that stuff, but being practical, I'm one of these people that thinks that you must have tools. You can't really build a house without tools. The more tools you have in your back pocket, the more likely you are to build your physical self. And with that, uh, as you get stronger, it builds some physical confidence. You can't get confidence any other way, in my opinion. I think that it's the stronger you feel, the more confident you feel, and then mentally you get confidence. So I start out with a whole bunch of different tools, and a lot of them are just simple tools. Write down what you do every day. When you take a good look at yourself, you finally start to see the cracks in the mirror, and you're like, wow, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. So, and then I can start from there and go forward. But it's really important to have that mirror. And the only way you can do it is by facing yourself. That's
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah, that is hard. That is really hard for some people to do.
It sure is.
And I love that you brought up the tool set, right? Because, I'm sure there are many, many tools, like you mentioned that one, but just to be able to provide those tools to your clients so that they can, use them to help them achieve their goals. Um, I want to just go back to what you said about that facing yourself in the mirror thing, because I think that is really hard for a lot of people. That is a challenge. And I'm just curious, how do you help somebody face themselves in the mirror? Like, what is like maybe your one big tip for people that like are just can't do it? It's so hard.
Well, I always tell my clients that you really only have two people to answer to. First, I mean, this is just my belief, is God. And the second is yourself. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by looking in the mirror and telling yourself every day that you love yourself. And I can't tell you how many of my clients will break down and cry because they don't believe it. They don't really love themselves. And I think that is the most important thing you can do, is to really love who you are as a human being, because with that comes appreciation. And once you start to love yourself, you build a confidence that no one can take away. And you can sit there, you could go to the gym. I used to compete for Miss Fitness USA for years, and you could go to the gym and you could work out with weights and you could run a marathon and you can do all these things, but it will never give you the confidence that you need unless you love yourself.
I love that so much. You're so right, right? A lot of people don't necessarily think about self-love, and you're right, it's so impactful, and it impacts everything else, right? Like the you said mentioned earlier, confidence. Um, because if you're not able to face yourself and say that you love yourself, then how can you love others if you're not even able to love yourself? So it really starts from, with you. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that message. Um,
Absolutely. The self-love, I think I can't tell you what barriers that breaks down for people when they start really truly appreciating. Because and then what happens is that they'll start saying like, well, I really want my thighs better, I really want this better, I really want that better. I'm like, well, everything's a negative spin
mm,
which keeps you there.
mhm,
And so my thing has always been moving forward through imaging and the power of suggestion, meaning you may not believe it, but if you are always expressing how bad your thighs are, they're never going to grow into
mm,
great thighs because you
mm,
don't believe it. So
yeah.
it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy. So we could sit there and badger ourselves all day long. I wish I was this. I wish I was that. I wish that. And it will not serve you on any level. But when you see yourself in the mirror and say, wow, my legs are getting stronger, they're improving, the shape is beautiful, I never had this before, I'm going to work and they're going to get better, and you embrace the process, then you can move forward toward your goal. It's always the process. It's never the goal. The goal will come, and
Mm,
you have to have a goal, but you're never ever going to reach your goal if that's all you think about. You have to embrace the process.
yeah, I love that. That you're right. The process is the going through the process is the journey, right? It's not about sort of, it isn't necessarily, I mean, yes, there's an end goal there, but that journey, that's the growth journey. That's where all the magic happens, right? It's not about achieving the goal because there's
Exactly. Yeah,
because there's
because we're sorry, I just want to say
yeah.
that we are an instant gratification society, and
Mhm.
that's why crash diets don't work because people want instant results. And if you really want to care for something, your own body and your own soul, it's got to be a process. It can't be an overnight deal. It will never last. And
Yeah.
so it's really important that you stay consistent and like I said, every day in the mirror, find something really, really wonderful about yourself and think about it, talk about it. Wow, I have really improved my stamina. I have really improved my complexion. I'm drinking more water. And, just little things like that. And I'm telling you, you will get closer and closer to your goal that way.
Yeah, I love that. And then, the other thing is for some people, the goal, once they hit it, it's like, well, what's next? And then there's a new goal.
Well, and you have a very strong point because a lot of times I'll get involved with someone and they'll say, I want to be better. I want to look fabulous for my wedding. So we've got what, 5, 6 months. And then after that, they just kind of go woohoo right down the tube. And that's why it's really important to have extremely long range goals and then have mini goals to take you there. So we can get you ready looking fabulous for your wedding pictures, but then you've got to set something after that right away, so you don't lose it because
Mm,
that can happen. That's why I say it's got to be a process that happens every day, little by little.
yeah. I mean, especially for the body, right? Like as we age, it's things change and it's a process. There's, with the maintenance, like you said, you do need to set that longer term goal because if you just stop after you've attained that wedding day goal, nothing's gonna I mean, it's not gonna stay by itself just because you reached it.
That's exactly right. And that's why you cannot, you have to embrace the aging process as well.
Mm.
I mean, I'm just going to tell you, it's kind of it's been a challenge for me. Sometimes you're like, wow, I never had that before. I never had this. I've always been really super fit. I've never, but I haven't lost a beat. I mean, luckily for me, I have the tools. I've worked on them my whole life that I don't get down on myself when I see the little crepiness or I have this or I have some extra wrinkles or I don't look like I'm in my 30s anymore and it's okay. And I'm okay with it. And I feel happy and confident and I don't rush to the plastic surgeon, not that there's anything wrong with doing any of those things, but we can really beat ourselves up. Men and women, both you can really beat yourself up if you let yourself get that way. And then it stops you from living life.
Mm.
So you should always have a goal. I'm very goal oriented, but I don't focus on my goal that I lose out on life. So I enjoy the process as much as I can. I make it fun. I do stuff I like to do. They say if you pick your job that you like to do every day, it's not a job. And that's what I've always tried to do. Go for your dream. Find that joy every single day. It has to be there because if you don't have it, then having the goal is just going to be drudgery and you'll never reach it.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about just embracing the aging process because I think for a lot of people it's hard, right? Like they see the changes, they're not really happy with them. How can people sort of really embrace that aging process? Because you seem to have it like totally like your mastery over that, right? Like you're very confident, you're totally fine with it, you accept it. But for people that have a hard time accepting that aging process, what can you say to those folks?
You've got to find your joy. I think that is extremely important. Plus, you can't focus on age because I had a client and he actually lived to be 100. The most amazing man, just so incredible. And he was working out and playing his trumpet, writing books in his 90s, and he never stopped living life. He never stopped enjoying the things that brought him joy and kept him alive. He never ever, and his motto, honestly, was age is just a number. And so I have always embraced that. Even though he was my client, I felt like he was my mentor as well. I learned a lot from that man. And I think it's really important that we remember age is just a number and find the things you love to do the most. By sitting around and not using your body, it will only go downhill. You've got to create blood flow. Movement is key. And if you can't find those things, then hire a professional. But it's really important. Get out of your box. You know, if you think you can't do something, you'd be surprised at what you can do.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people sort of, have that fear of getting outside their comfort zone and trying something different, trying something new, trying something that maybe won't be that comfortable to start with. But like some people find like you could find joy in those things that you need to overcome that little, initial fear of what if this is too scary or what if this is too hard? Maybe can you talk about for people that, helping people get out of that sort of that box? Um, what you might say to somebody to help them get out of that box to get them moving.
Well, I'm kind of a calculated risk taker. And I'll just give you my own little example. Not everyone is going to be this daring, but I was kind of in a rut in New York. I had a great life, but I was just pounding the pavement in the rat race. I got involved with horses, and on a whim, I decided I was moving to Texas. That's where all the horse shows are. And I got totally involved in the horse world. I didn't know anybody, didn't have a job. I mean, I knew a couple of people in the horse world, but it was a huge leap of faith. I looked for the red lights and the green lights, and it all said green. It was extremely hard, but I would never trade that experience ever, ever, ever. It kept me alive. And so I'm not saying you have to move across the country to stay alive, but if you have never tried, if let's say you've always wanted to do something, you wanted to go to the Le Cordon Bleu in France, uh, do it. I mean, what are you waiting for? Try it. I say, don't think about it. Just go and do it. You would be surprised. Trust yourself. That's a hard thing, and yeah, it might be hard in the beginning, but know who you are. And I think fear is nothing but something to fear, meaning fear is quicksand. It does not show us any growth at all. Faith and moving forward is how we grow and stay alive. That's the one thing I think that will keep you young.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, I want to go back to what you had said about trusting yourself because you had mentioned, if there's, because a lot of people probably have these like thoughts, like I would always love, I want to do this, right? Like you mentioned, if you've ever had sort of a thought to do something that you just have this fear, but trusting yourself, because I feel like trusting not just like yourself, but like those little inner thoughts of like, this is something that I would really desire, but I have some fear about doing it. I love what you said about trusting yourself because it's almost like an intuitive thing, right? Like you're trusting your intuition, you're trusting yourself and going for it. And like you said, right, just going for it, doing it. And what sort of experience might you have from that? Um, can you talk a little bit more about like trusting yourself? Because I feel like some people don't necessarily trust whatever it is that's inside of them, um, to want to, get outside that comfort zone and do the things that they have this desire to always do, but not, and where that could lead them.
I feel that our desires come from a place of knowing. When you have a desire for something, deep down innately, you can do it. We tend to like the things that we're really good at. And I think most people do not shine enough in that department, meaning, let's say you have a desire to do art, but you're afraid you're not going to make any money. There's a whole list of reasons why you don't want to get involved. I say you need to explore it. You need to go for it because those things are real. you would not be feeling those things if they weren't real and if they weren't inside of you. So I think it's valuable not just to, jump off the deep end without of a pool without learning how to swim. You must plan for it. You can plan for your risk taking, but don't let fear standing in your way. I know that sounds easier said than done. But if you are fearful, it's really you just saying no. So why not say yes?
Yeah, I love that. People do. They need to say yes to themselves, and really embrace those dreams because you only get one lifetime, right? And I hear, when people talk about like their biggest regrets at the end of life, it's the things that they didn't do, not the things that they did do, right?
Exactly. I feel it's so important to live your life without regrets. Now, when you live life and you look back and you think, oh, I could have changed this, I could have changed that. I'm not talking really about that. I'm talking about unfulfilled desire. If you have a dream, why not go for it? Now, I know some things might be unrealistic, but you can do things on a smaller scale. It doesn't mean that, you can give up everything in your whole life to fulfill something, a desire to, let's say you love to paint. You can start right in your own home, start painting. You don't know where things will take you. But if you don't start, you will never know. And then you'll look back and say, I really wish I would have done that. I really wish. And then that's, I find that living life with regret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, this has been such a great conversation. I wanted to find out, as we sort of wrap up today's call, is there any one thing or message that you'd like to share with our audience today? Anything that you'd like to put out into the world for people to know or hear today?
Well, I'm going to reiterate about looking in the mirror. Look in the mirror, see what you see. It's not perfection. None of us are perfect, but you must love yourself. And if you can love yourself, you will be so much happier with every single thing you do in life, everything.
I love what you just said about perfection, right? Because I think a lot of people feel like, you've got this like little one extra, you know, fat thing hanging out or and people get really hung up on that. So I love the message of just not needing perfection. I mean, it's what is good enough is is often just fine, and people get hung up on that idea of perfection and what that needs to look like. And there is no perfect. It's every single person is different, and everybody is perfect in their own way already. And so I love that message. Thank you so much. And
Absolutely. Plus, we're
yeah,
part of a team. We're part of a team. This is a team. The world is teamwork.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here.
I invite you to subscribe to the Embrace Balance Discover Joy podcast and join our community. If you feel inspired by what you hear, please leave a review and share this podcast with others who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to embrace balance and discover joy in your life. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes filled with inspiring stories and valuable insights. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.